Phase one, set your foundation. You need to build off of a solid foundation. Phase two, grow your brand. Simply, that's when we start to we have a solid foundation. We're going to start to grow this thing. Phase three, dominate your market. That is domination in your local market, your national market, whatever you're shooting for. I also added in recently a phase zero. I call it your bootstrapping stage. Most of us, if we've started a business, have gone through this where you don't have enough money to hire a bunch of people. You don't have enough money to just market and do all these cool things. There's a level of bootstrapping you need to do and do it yourself and watch YouTube figure it out. I usually say that's probably from $0 in revenue to about 400,000.
Welcome back to the Cost of Doing Business show, everybody. I am Wes Zimmerman, your host, and today I am excited to bring on Luke Eggebraaten from his office in Arizona. We're doing a virtual recording today. He's from the Dirt Bag Podcast, and I'll let him introduce all the things he's got going on with his book and everything. But we want to talk today. I'm excited for this episode because I get questions pretty regularly of hey, how do I get more leads? Because in our world, we've helped someone fix their pricing and now they're pricing their jobs correctly. Now it's just a matter of getting leads of people that will buy at that pricing. And so I often try to engage and respond well, do you have a Google My Business listing? It's I don't even have yeah, I have it, but I haven't gotten any reviews in 2 years. It's so I'm excited for this episode today because we're going to talk about the 3 or 4 stages of marketing and how to find out how you stack up in what stage are you in and what should you be doing in each one of those stages. So I can't wait to pick Luke's brain here. But Luke, welcome here to the show and tell us what all you're into and what your background is and what you're doing today.
Absolutely. Wes and I appreciate it. Cheers. It's good to finally be on the podcast. I've definitely been looking forward to this one. So as you mentioned, I'm the co-host of the Dirt Bags podcast. And usually when we do that one, we have a little glass of whiskey in here and we have a good time with Luke Payne is my co-host, owner of Black Iron Dirt and Western Excavation. But this is a nice one. It's a nice change up. We got a cup of coffee going. So
that's what I have going here as well.
Yeah. Kind of like the morning podcast here. But so I guess in a nutshell, like you mentioned, I live in Arizona. We are originally from northern Minnesota, the Detroit Lakes area. And that's actually where I met Luke Payne. And we went to high school together, did all that. But my main business is a company called Phaser Marketing. And in a nutshell, it is digital marketing for excavation companies. And a lot of what falls in there are landscape construction companies. Essentially anyone that is more in the excavation, grading, hydro seeding, foundation excavation. We do a lot of septic companies, and so that industry we only work in. So we don't take on real estate agencies, coffee shops, home builders. We only work in that one space, and so I've been doing that now. I started the business about 3 years ago, and it's been rocking since. It's been a ton of fun. We work with about 40 excavation companies across the country and Canada, and we kind of do it on a monthly basis. So we work with them full time, and that really helps myself and our team dial in what we're doing for these partners. I don't think of them as clients, but they're essentially our partners, and how we can help them on their website, their SEO, their paid ads, and really just their whole online visibility. Because I'm sure, as you and everyone listening knows, it's not always about the leads. Yes, leads are great, but in this industry, it's a blessing where a good chunk of companies have way too many leads. And they're we just need people to come work for us. So marketing works the same way. Marketing, branding, it's okay, how do you attract people to your business? And you need to attract those people if you ever want to hire. And so it's funny, it goes hand in hand. People say, I don't need marketing. I have more work than I can handle. I just need to hire somebody. And I'm that would be
marketing
as well. So
I've heard someone, I don't even remember where I heard this, but it was the concept of you have 2 funnels in your business. One is to get customers. The other one is to get employees.
Yeah, exactly. And you need to fund the work essentially. So
Yeah.
the work is going to come in, and it's just such a great industry too. Like it seems like it comes each year, especially each summer, and we're just behind the eight ball where we need to hire a couple people real quick. But like you mentioned, we haven't done anything with our website or with our social media or Google business profile to prepare ourselves for the years ahead.
Yeah. And that does make me think of Tusky Landscaping, where I essentially grew up working in this industry. And there's people that message us and reach out to us like, hey, or to Tussie, I should say, can we come work for you? Or are you hiring? Because they love what they see on the marketing and the content. They're attracted to that. Like, that's the kind of company I want to go work for. And so social media or marketing is not only, like you said, to get leads or customers. It's also attracting and it's great because usually if those people are attracted to what you're already putting out, then there's a good chance that there'll likely be a culture fit as well because they already know what you're like.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's the blessing with, social media is it's free and you can easily do it. One of our clients, I'm sure a lot of people listening know him, is James Doyle from Innovative Lawn and Landscape.
Yeah.
And he's really reflected that through his branding and social media. And like, that's all him. He's doing that. And then where we came in is kind of to match that level of branding with his website.
Yeah.
And obviously it's kind of that next step of where he may not be able to do all that himself. Of course, he's not a web designer. And so, bringing us in has really helped kind of match his branding through social media, through the website, and just a more consistent brand all around.
Yeah. And make sure that when you come off of this amazing Instagram profile with tens of thousands of followers and you click on that link in the bio, you get a similar impression,
Exactly. And so that is where we fit in really well. We actually do a lot of work with, it's just that crossover of, hardscaping, outdoor patios. And because typically these companies have maybe a mini excavator or a bigger excavator, and they're kind of transitioning from lawn care to landscaping to hardscaping to dirt work. And so we kind of work, I'd say, from the landscaping to the mass excavation side of things.
Yeah.
We don't really do lawn care because I feel like that's a totally different market.
Different.
And so we want to make sure that we are focused in an industry that we know that we are learning and growing every single day in. And we can, I was telling you, before the podcast too, what really helps us is we can share keywords throughout the country of like whatever is working in Maryland. We'll use some of those keywords in New York or Maine or Washington and just kind of spread the wealth of like what is working for our current partners.
Yeah, no, that's awesome. So as I kind of alluded to in the beginning, as we were doing the intro, what are the 3 or 4 stages in marketing that you see so we can help everybody that's listening kind of figure out like, well, where do I stack up? Like, how do you divvy up the stages?
Yeah, absolutely. So one of my favorite things to do is talk business. I love talking business with people in the industry, with people out of the industry, just like getting them to talk about their numbers and see where they're at and see like just from a consulting side, like how I can offer a piece of advice or vice versa. And so I always love talking business, and I always love to be a resource first and a marketing agency second. I could care less if they came in and hired our marketing agency. I just want them to know that it's an open door for me and I want to be a resource for them. So kind of how I divvied it out years ago was there's 3 phases that we are going to offer, basically 3 programs. Mm-hmm. And it kind of ended up where it's like, I wanted to tailor them to where these excavation and landscaping companies were at in revenue, in business, because it seemed that, okay, when they were ready for this next phase, it had to make sense financially and it had to make sense for that growth curve that they were on. So I built out 3 phases, and then we're going to add a 4th here, but 3 phases is basically phase 1, phase 2, phase 3. Phase 1, set your foundation. You need to build off of a solid foundation. I don't need to explain why that's important to anyone listening. Phase 2, grow your brand. Simply, that's when we start to we have a solid foundation. We're going to start to grow this thing. We're going to start to see some results in many areas. Phase 3, dominate your market. That is domination in your local market, your national market, whatever you're shooting for. I also added in recently a phase 0, and I love this phase because we don't have a service offering for this phase, but we have resources for them. So I'm going to break it down a little bit in revenue. So usually phase 0, I call it your bootstrapping stage. Most of us, if we've started a business, have gone through this where you don't have enough money to hire a bunch of people. You don't have enough money to just like market and do all these cool things. Like there's a level of bootstrapping you need to do, and like do it yourself and watch YouTube, figure it out. So I usually say that's probably from $0 in revenue to about 400,000, especially in this industry. And that is where, you're kind of just getting started. Maybe you've been doing it a couple of years, you're getting your feet under you, but you're starting to build some systems, hopefully, to then get you to above that 400K a year. Obviously, typically it's an owner operator, couple guys coming in as well, working for you, but just in that bootstrapping stage. So a couple things that I would recommend. First, from our company that we have as resources, I published my first book this year. It's called The Digital Dirt World. It's meant for any company, but especially in that phase 0, to kind of learn more about marketing without having to pay an astronomical amount. I think it's like $16 on Amazon or something. You can learn that way.
You know what always amazed me about books is people will sell books for $20 or whatever, and then they'll sell their course or whatever for $2,000. Same knowledge.
Yeah, exactly. And the nice thing about a book is if somebody's willing to learn and read the book, they're going to get all the information they need. So we have the book, obviously podcasts. We have our Dirtbags podcast, and then even this podcast as well. Just learning and consuming while you're in that bootstrapping stage is very important. Mm-hmm. We also have a webinar, which is Dirtbags University. That is kind of a more hands-on. We just had Aaron Witt and Dozer Dave Turin on, and we always bring somebody in to focus on a certain topic. Our next one coming up is solely on estimating. And so
interesting.
Helps companies and entrepreneurs and business owners learn, like, okay, instead of giving me a generic Excel spreadsheet of like random numbers, we're bringing in basically one of Luke Payne's employees, one of his estimators, and they're going through live numbers, real numbers. And so it's a private webinar. You basically just pay $20 to get in, and then hour and a half, we all have our whiskey, we have a good time, we hang out with everyone, and but we also learn on a Monday night, which is so valuable.
Yeah. So 0 to 400K is like bootstrapping, and those are all the resources you have for that stage. Let's go through let's finish like mapping out those different stages. And then I want to come back and say like, okay, if I'm in that stage, we'll go through each stage then and say like, what should I be doing?
Absolutely. So phase 1, as you kind of get up there, obviously that'd be kind of your 400,000 and above, usually to about 1.2 million. I would say that's when you start to like set your foundation and set a good growth path for the future. And so for us, this is where we would add in, a professional website build we would build on WordPress. We'd have some foundational SEO in there, and then also the ongoing SEO. So then we start to see like, okay, we have a good website. We're starting to grow through Google organically. People are starting to find us. We're managing the Google business profile. We're starting to set that good, solid foundation. And another thing in phase 1 too is we help coach on social media. Like we don't do it for them, but we help coach them on, set up your Facebook business page, set up your Instagram business, your LinkedIn company page, and your Google business profile. The big 4 free, completely free social media profiles that you can set up. So that's where we really start to see like, okay, let's build this thing low and slow. Let's see some consistent growth. Let's get some systems built in here.
Okay.
Phase 2, usually that's about, I usually say 7 figures, but usually about 1.2 and above to about 10 million. That's where we start to grow your brand. I use this illustration of phase 1, you kind of build the fire and you light it and you got a little fire going. Phase 2, you start to pour some gas on that. So you start, okay, there's good things already going. There's already a fire. Now we just need to pour some gas on it in the form of, your paid ads. So we build out, paid ads campaigns. That's where you'd start to look at like funnels and, okay, how can we really start to grow this business, whether we're trying to hire 5 guys, or we're trying to build out more crews, or we're trying to bring in more lead flow. So it's like we're booking out 8, 12, 16 weeks out in advance. So that would be phase 2, the grow your brand stage. And then phase 3, I like to call that just your dominate your market. Usually that's, I see when you're 10 million and above. And in construction, believe it or not, like you can kind of get there pretty quick sometimes. And you kind of have to make that decision. Like, do we want to pedal back a little bit? Are there too many headaches? Or do we want to dominate this market?
Yeah. Like what kind of business do I want to own? Yeah.
Exactly. And I want to preface this too, is there's no wrong answer.
Exactly. Yeah.
I'm really excited to hear the feedback here, but when you get to 20 million, 50 million, it's not like the headache go away. And it's funny that some people think that, and so they forget to kind of enjoy the whole journey on the way up. And they're like, it kind of sucks up here. And so then they pedal back down. But whichever route you're going, there's no wrong answer. You just have to figure it out yourself. And then kind of to the point of this podcast too, is having healthy systems, healthy net profits where you're actually making money on your way there. So those would be like the 4 phases that I see. Of course, you have companies over 100 million. That I would say is out of our expertise. And
sure.
We always just send them to like a company like BuildWit or somebody like that, where they have the infrastructure to take care of them. But that, of course, is more corporate, and it just kind of falls out of.
It's just different. It's a different animal up there.
It is, and they have regulations and rules to follow. Where 1 to 10 million, or 0 to 10 million, I should say, is pretty consistent throughout. And you kind of
and that's where most of the people listening to our show fall into anyway. So, but what I heard you say was like there's like this 0 to 400K bootstrapping phase. Then there's this, and that's where you're not even really selling a product. You're just offering resources.
Right.
And then there's a 400K to about 1.2 million, which you call phase 1, and about a 1.2 million to say up to 10, which is phase 2, and then a phase 3, which could start earlier than 10 million if you want, or you could delay it until 10 million if you want, whichever. It depends what your goals are. But what I'd like to know is what you think, like, let's say I am your business growing from 0 to 10 million.
Yeah.
When I'm in the 0 to 400K range, what should I be doing? Like, okay, obviously you got those resources, but what are the 3 things that stand out to you? Like, make sure you're doing this and this and this before you even think about trying to become a phase 1.
Absolutely. So, for one, you have to put in the work. You have to pound the pavement. I always like to say, get your logo done, get some clean branding done. You can do that anywhere.
You can do it in 10 minutes on a free website if you want.
Yep, exactly. So, and then get some business cards made, get some yard signs made, get some, some branding materials. And then kind of like I mentioned earlier, create the big 4. So create your Facebook business page, Instagram business, LinkedIn company, and your Google business profile. Why is that important? Because that at least gets you thinking of like, okay, I need to put this profile picture here. Let's use our logo. Okay, I need a cover photo because I can't just keep that blank. You get a nice cover photo there. And then you have these pages built out. And then when you put your first post up on Instagram, we'll say, just cross-post it to all 4 platforms. And you don't have to do anything crazy, anything fancy. If you talk about a new septic system you just installed on Instagram, why not copy that and paste that on Facebook, on LinkedIn company page, and then on your Google business profile update. So the big reason for that is you're starting to build up more of a brand and a company, especially when you're 0 to 400. Your Facebook, you're going to see more residential action, your aunts, uncles, friends, teachers, things like that will come to you for work potentially. Instagram is straight companies, which is awesome. You're going to see tons of landscaping contractors, excavation, septic. It is, I always say it's like a dirt world cult on Instagram.
Yeah, where it's funny.
It's amazing though, because if you run into issues or snags, people will help you in a second.
It's a tremendous community.
Yep. LinkedIn is always overlooked, and I'm always standing on that hill. LinkedIn, always just keep that consistent. You're always going to get some of the biggest deals through LinkedIn, because those are where your presidents are, your CEOs, your vice presidents of these big GCs, construction companies. And they're going to see the work you're putting in, and some of the stuff you're doing. And sometimes it's just a quick message from them of like, hey, we need some extra help out on this project. Any chance you could mobilize and come out there? And then all of a sudden that could be a $500,000 a year
subcontractor
relationship for you. It could be game changing. So, and then of course the fourth is that Google business profile, which Google likes to see active profiles, and they like to pick up on keywords that you're using in your posts. And so they, in a sense, then show your website and your profile higher if somebody is searching for hydro seeding in Detroit Lakes, Minnesota, because they clearly see that you're doing that. So they bump you up higher.
And the other thing I would say is in that 0 to 400K or startup bootstrapping phase of business is like, people are like, how do I get leads? Do I go spend $5,000 on a website or whatever? Well, you could, but honestly, the best thing that I think you can do, and I want to check, this is my opinion, I want to check to see what you think, is get, like you said, get the 4 social programs up, but especially Facebook and Google for the express purpose of getting reviews. Because one of the top ways, like Google shows those business listings on maps above the first website. So if you can almost be in a world where you don't really even have a website, but you have a really good active Google My Business profile where you're getting reviews every month. Review recency and frequency matters to get up there, but you can be top on page 1 without being an SEO expert with all just by having an active, well filled out Google My Business profile that's constantly getting reviews from your customers.
Yeah. If somebody who's in $200K a year and they own a landscaping company and they said, Luke, I'm going to do one or the other right now, it's just all I have time for. Should I build out my Google business profile page or build out a website? And this is coming from a guy that we
builds
only
websites.
Websites. I would say absolutely put all your focus in your Google business profile. Because like you said, there is an option to get to call. There's an option to like book appointments, to see your pictures, to see like your team on there. And it's all in Google, which is the most powerful search engine in the world. And so why not build that up? It's a free tool. And you start to get used to like, okay, this would even be better if I had a website tab on there. And then, but that can always be a little bit later on. So definitely by far building that up. But then with those business cards, with those yard signs, asking for that review. There's an option where on your Google business profile, you can get a review link, and you can send that directly to somebody's cell phone.
Text it.
Leave a review for us.
I
always tell people you got to ask for it. Like, hey, if I send you a link right now, would you mind like writing us a quick review? Like we're trying to build up our page. You almost make them feel guilty, and they're like, absolutely, I'll do that. And then stand there.
Exactly. Just stand there. Okay, great. Here it is. I'll text it to you. And I just stand there.
You're going to wait here until I'm done. Yeah, that would be awesome.
And I want to see what you wrote.
Even if I've had a lot of companies do this too, where they'll offer $50 off or whatever, like a gift card or something if they do it. And I say it's worth it, because you start building them up of like, this is a long-term play. Those Google reviews are going to stay there forever. I think our company right now, that 40 some reviews, which is good. It could be better, but I just think I'm like, man, I'm glad I consistently just keep putting in, like asking when something goes well. And then people can always search through that. Google can always search through it. So continuing to build that up is a huge, huge help to getting your business to that next level.
Just think about it. Like when you're in that bootstrap stage, you're probably doing some smaller projects, and put yourself in the mind of your customer. So they go Google hydro seeder contractor near me or whatever. Like the first thing they're going to see is not websites. They're going to see those Google My Business listings. And if one has way more reviews than another one does, even if it's 5 stars, but there's only 3 reviews versus one that's 4.6 and there's 75 reviews, that is guess who they're going to tap the call button on first. It's a no brainer. And so one of my cousins does a service business, and he he bonuses his employees $50 per review, and his employees ask for them, and he's up to like 800 reviews, and it's a perfect 5-star. It's insane.
Wow, that's incredible. And that's where it's at too. And I guess one thing I wanted to mention, because you made a really good point there, is a lot of times we'll get like maybe a spam review, or you'll get a 1-star, or even if somebody is upset, I always recommend, for one, reply back to them and just kind of make it clear so people can see your reply back to a 1-star. Also contact the person, see if there's any way you can rectify in any way they can take it down. If that's off the table and that 1-star is going to live there forever, my next, because you can't tell Google to take it down. They won't, which is good. I think it's fair. And the next thing I always tell people, you just got to flood it out. If you have 3 reviews and one of them's bad, you need 16. Like go get
respond well and then flood it out.
Yep.
Because how many times have you ever, I'm curious, have you ever gone to a business, gone to the reviews and filtered down to the 1-stars and read the replies?
Oh yeah.
I do all the time.
Yeah. Usually it's funny. Usually they're not what you want to see, and you're like, that could have been worded better. But you can tell a lot from a company on how they deal with adversity. And maybe they're apologizing. Maybe they just give their side of the story, and they're like, I'm sorry you feel this way, but it rained this day, and we just weren't able to get out there, and that's why this happened. But we hope we can maybe earn your business back in the future, or we can go our separate ways. So I think there's a lot. It says a lot on how businesses answer those reviews. And we see it all the time with our partners. Like, they'll get one and they'll just get it removed because they'll answer well. They'll call the person, they'll kind of rectify the situation. Then the person feels bad. And they're like, I'm just going to take this down. So
I agree. Like, and I know we're spending probably way too much time in proportion on these 4 stages on the first stage, but it is an important one, because it's like, I guess to kind of hit back on it before we move on to the next stage, just to summarize, like, make sure your social profiles, the big 4, like you mentioned, are well built out with content and with details and information, and that you're active on them. I mean, if you have a niece or a cousin or your wife or whatever, like, just get somebody to be active on it for you if you can't. And I think getting Google reviews, and then also Facebook if you can, have a goal of getting a review from every customer, or 75% of your customers. Like, that will set you up for that. That's a really good bootstrapping foundation right there. Yeah,
absolutely. And like you said, we did spend a lot of time on that, but I do feel like that's the most pivotal stage in business, because when you get to phase 2, which we'll touch on here, you have a little bit more stability and you're starting to add more pieces in, and then it becomes more of a scaling question and profitability, where definitely the phase 0 and phase 1 need the most attention, and you got to be the most careful in, because you can grow really quick, which is great. We also want to make sure you're starting to do some of the right things to grow the right way.
Yeah. And nothing is more like, I don't know, I've already landed on, say, a local business's website. Very nice website. I go check them out on Google My Business, and there's like 1 review there. And it's like, I always want to get above the family and friends dozen reviews. So like, I want to get to like 30 and 50 and 100, because then there's real customers.
Yeah. And I will say this too, so people listening don't get discouraged. In the landscaping and excavation world, as you can imagine, your competition isn't doing a whole lot of this. And and a lot of you guys like maybe don't even have competition. But regardless, if you go out and get 12 reviews, like, you're going to be probably the number 1 in your area.
Yeah.
So it's not to scare you, but you're also building an asset. You're building your brand's asset, your company, if you ever want to hand the business down to a son or a daughter or your grandkids, or you ever want to sell the business, like, you actually have more to go off of. If you have SEO authority, you have these profiles built up, you have people finding you organically, you're only going to help your business out long term.
100%. I couldn't agree more. Yeah. I think it's one of the most overlooked and also the easiest things to get right, is that whole Google listing and review.
Yeah.
Well, second, or phase 1, like, setting your foundation, like, let's say I've done all that and I'm in a good spot. what is the next things that I got to go check, and make sure that I'm doing?
Yeah, absolutely. So phase one is a great spot. Basically, we're starting to, we've maxed out our Wix website. We've kind of maxed out, this pen and paper stuff. Like I kind of want to run a little bit more like a business, get some systems in place, and of course, like set a solid foundation like we've been talking about. So a couple options here, and I always want to give like all the options, obviously not just working with us. There's tons of other options out there. So where Phaser Marketing kind of falls in, we're a little bit more expensive, but we never like to be the lowest bidder. So kind of on your cheapest end would be to do everything yourself, but that ends up being the most expensive because of your time. And so what I don't recommend is like, don't try and build that WordPress website yourself. You're just going to waste too much time on it when you can easily hire it out to somebody that can do it in their sleep. Mm-hmm. So kind of when you're in that phase one, I usually recommend to upgrade from your Wix or your Squarespace website to something that's more Google friendly. And that would be like a fully developed WordPress website. So a couple ways you can do that. Like I said, don't do it yourself, but hiring a freelancer to do it. There's tons of options out there. A few websites that I've used before are upwork.com.
Yep.
You basically put out a job posting. You can look for web designers. You can hire anyone. Second option would be to bring somebody in part-time or full-time. This could be a college student, high school student, could be your wife or husband's friend, or whoever it may be that has background in digital marketing. This is probably a step more expensive than outsourcing to a freelancer, but a bit cheaper than working with an agency. Then I think your third option would be working with an agency like ours. And for clarification, for phase one, it's about a $3,000 startup fee and then $1,500 per month. And we do it all in programs. And so it's always monthly recurring. And we do that for a couple of reasons. One, we don't just give you the website and say, good luck updating it, hosting it, taking care of it, and growing it. We almost force all of our partners to like buy into the program where it's like, it's only going to be good for both of our companies. So that's why it's a little bit more expensive. We build, design, develop the website on WordPress. And then we also do ongoing SEO where we manage your Google business profile. We manage your, press releases, things like that, where we're actively growing in your keywords. And then I'd say the fourth would be bringing somebody in full time. I think everyone listening can agree that if you're 400,000 to $1 million, that's probably not the best use of funds, but it is an option. And so I would usually recommend using that money towards like equipment or some other systems and softwares for your company. And then you could look at bringing somebody in full time, kind of more in that phase two.
Yeah.
Phase.
So what I heard you say is you're kind of graduating out of kindergarten with your own website.
Yeah.
You're getting a professional Google optimized SEO website and having someone that's owning that SEO and that content on the website. So we first started with just getting active on social media. Maybe you do your own kind of website on the weekends with Squarespace or whatever. Yeah. Now you're moving on up, getting a professional website, actually having someone that owns it and is an expert in what they're doing for you.
Yeah. And I'm so glad you brought that up because it made me think of two very important points. For one, that phase one, it helps you start to delegate certain things where you're not doing everything. You're not the bottleneck. And so you start to kind of let go of like, okay, I can't build the website also. I can't do all the SEO. I can't be out in the skid doing the work. And so delegation is very important to continue to grow. So it really helps with that. And number two tip that I have, whoever you're working with, whether it's freelancer, full-time, an agency, always make sure that you as the company own your domain and all the content. There's some agencies out there that will say, we own your domain and we will lease it to you. And if you ever go to a different agency or want to get it back, you can't because we own it. And they will.
Sleazeball tactic, man.
It is. And so I want to highlight that because they'll say that's how they do
it happens.
Business. Not everyone does business that way, of course. And there are honest and good people out there. So if you see that, it's definitely a red flag. Don't fall for it. Ask questions to other people that do that, and you'll see that you want ownership of 100% of your stuff that's going
So
on.
basically, when you go hire, I don't care if it's a freelancer agency, whatever, just make sure that you're owning that domain and that website. And an easy way to do it is just buy the domain yourself on GoDaddy and then give access to the web developer. And the same with the website. Make sure that the main super admin email in the account is your email and your credit card's on file or whatever, like whatever needs to happen, just to make sure that it's your assets, that you're getting access to your marketing agency and not the other way around.
Exactly. And so if you ever have questions or concerns about that, and that's where kind of Instagram and some of those platforms come in, reach out to somebody like me or somebody that's in the industry that you feel you have a little bit more trust with, and just ask them like, hey, does this make sense? Or is this like, and I'll just tell you like yes or no, or like, yep, that's totally common practice, or no, that's not. So, I always want to help people not get screwed, I guess.
Yeah. 100%. Yeah. So what's happening in the 1.2 and up phase, the grow your brand phase?
Yeah. So I love this one. This is where you start to, go on that hockey stick curve of like, okay, let's start running this thing and pouring some gas on the fire. And usually what we do that will help with that growth is we start building out all of your ad campaigns. So a lot of times, that is hiring ads, hiring ad funnels, that is brand awareness ads, that is also like lead forms. And so, we'll build them out on Facebook. Facebook's actually pretty solid when it comes to landscaping, hardscaping, and other.
It's visual,
more residential jobs, but we've done a lot of big residential septics, commercial septic.
Really?
And it's kind of surprising to me even, but another guy, there is a group on Facebook, I believe it's Excavating and Estimating, but Zach Beruli, if you guys don't know him, go find him on Facebook. He does a great job. I work with him a lot. He's very niched into Facebook ads for landscapers and the dirt work contractors. So he's a stud. He has a class that he teaches you how to do it. But on our side, we would build out those campaigns. Also, one other tip for anyone listening is check out, it's called Google Local Service Ads, or Google LSAs. It's something that's almost brand new to the industry, but essentially what it is, instead of your pay per click model where you'd pay every time somebody clicks on your ad, this is a pay per lead model. And
really?
Yeah. And so anytime it actually shows up above the sponsored ads on Google, and it is a green check mark that says Google guaranteed. And it's like anytime somebody fills it out, that's when you would pay Google. But the cool thing is if it's like a crappy lead or it doesn't make any sense, you can basically dispute it with Google and you'll get a refund back for that.
Wow.
And so
that's brilliant, because you're touching on something that I've always been frustrated with in some of my experiences with working with different agencies, which was like they wanted to promote their vanity metrics, like, oh, look at the reach on your ads, or look at how many clicks you've gotten, or look at, even maybe you could even say, look at how many leads you've gotten. But at the end of the day, I don't care. What I care about is how many closed jobs I've gotten.
And I would say from a marketing perspective, if we're sending quality leads, that is our metric. It's your job to close them, but they have to be at least.
Yes, correct. Once you've got the quality lead, then it's a sales thing. Because I've seen also where marketing companies are doing an excellent job producing great leads, but they couldn't sell. Whoever was getting leads couldn't sell. And so there was a big drop off right there. So that you got to look at the whole funnel to get a holistic picture to judge like where your bottleneck in your funnel is. But yeah, for sure. But all I wanted to bring into the awareness for the people listening is like, if you have a marketing agency, a lot of us kind of like to go, hey, yeah, do my Google ads for me. Great. $1,500 a month. Thank you. Don't let them toot the trumpet horn saying how awesome their job is on things like reach or it's leads. That's what matters.
Yeah. And I keep going off on a little tangent here, but that's why it helps us, because we only work in one industry. So we understand what our partners are looking for and need. And so we don't work in 100 industries where we say, yep, here's your reach, here's your sales, we're going to 10x your leads, where most of our clients would be like, we don't want 10 times our leads.
We just want good ones. Yeah.
It's good to know like who you're working with, and that's what's really helped us. But couple pros and cons on the Google LSAs. It sounds perfect, of course, like you only pay per lead. Couple cons, I guess, is sometimes the lead flow. Like if you're in a small town like Minot, North Dakota, they don't even offer it in that area. So there's only certain cities where it offers it, and they're slowly rolling out more services where they offer it. So for me as a marketing agency, I can't use it, but it's more for your plumbers, your electricians. But now they have like foundation digging and septic pumping. So now we're starting to see like, okay, we're rolling it out with our partners.
That's good to know.
But yeah, it's very nice. But you also typically in phase 2, you'll want to supplement it with another strategy. So you'll have the Google LSAs going in the background, and then you'll want to either add in your PPC to kind of add some more gas to it, or your Facebook ads, because LSAs, they're good, but they're not like perfect. So it's good to have like distribute your
don't put all your eggs in one basket.
Exactly.
And just for everyone listening, like PPC means pay per click. It's like Google ads or Facebook ads or whatever.
Yep. Exactly. And so, just distributing your strategy to other channels as well. And that way, if, for example, if all your eggs are in Facebook and you have no website, no Google or anything, and they make an algorithm change, which can happen in seconds, and all of a sudden all your sales go down, all of your cost per click shoots through the sky, like you're kind of a sitting duck. So you want to make sure that you are on different platforms, you're on your website.
Streams.
Exactly. And so you're kind of building more of that brand.
You know, in this stage of like, say, 1 to 2 million or 1 to 10 million, something that was really effective as in the spirit of having multiple channels of leads flowing to you. We at Tyson Landscaping, we did, the Google ads, the Facebook ads, and we had success with and our own website, but what really helped was doing actual physical displays in the ground at restaurants, at gas stations, at a farmer's market that gets a ton of people in the fall from a high-end development just a mile up the road. We just, like at Tyson Landscaping, we kind of got to the point where every year we were doing one more display somewhere. And some of these displays were like the company invested over $100,000 in cold hard cash. Like they were elaborate. And then others were just little $5,000 bubbling rocks or something. But the point was every last one of them had a brochure holder with brochures in there and QR codes to scan that were tracked, right? And we created Google listings for the bigger displays so that people could find them and drive to them. And now they know who we are and check them out. But that has been huge. Obviously, it's a long, slow burn, and it's like planting a tree and 10 years later you have shade. But that has probably been one of the most reliable sources of high quality leads that doesn't swing with the algorithms and all the technical jargon that goes on in the technical space.
Yeah, I actually got to speak on that at ConExpo this year, and I call it closing the loop. And so there's your digital marketing strategies and tactics that you do that like we would help you do. But then you also have to close the loop and do all of the non-digital marketing strategies, which is your business cards, it's your handshake, it's your yard signs, it's your displays. You can't sleep on one or the other. You kind of need both to build a successful business. And so that's why I always say, like, if you hire an agency or somebody to do your digital marketing, don't just like sit back and wait for the phone to ring. Like you still have to go to these networking events. You still have to shake hands and look at it as like a privilege of, okay, they're taking care of the digital side. I'll still take care of like the non-digital side and, go out and pound the pavement and shake hands and, hand out these brochures and cards and flyers. But they're only going to complement each other. And I always say that, word of mouth is and always will be the best form of marketing.
Yeah.
And your digital marketing only complements it. It only supplements. If somebody refers you or refers somebody to your business and they're about to go with you and they decide to check out your website, that's only going to help them complete that decision and close the loop of saying, okay, yep, I'm going to go with these guys.
Yep. Yeah. Yeah. This is really good stuff. What would you do? Okay, so phase 3, you're like your scaling phase, say 10 million and up, or maybe you could start a little sooner than 10 million. But like, what's different from that versus phase 2? Just real quick.
Yeah, I won't spend too much time on phase 3 just because it's situational, definitely situational, and that's why, like on our website, you'll see phase 3 is just custom digital marketing plan. The reason we have it on there is, a while back we had a couple companies, one was 60 million, one was 25 million in revenue. And I realized that they didn't really fit well into our phase 1 or phase 2. And so we just said, we'll just do a custom plan. We'll take a look at your goals, what you're currently doing, who's on your team doing all this, and we'll see where we fit in. And so usually I like to say it's like a hybrid of phase 2 where we're adding in all of these strategies and pouring more gas on it.
It's interesting you said strategy, because I was just thinking it's not like you still have a website. You're still doing paid ads. It's just that you're maybe investing more into the strategy and the direction and how you want to scale.
Yep, absolutely. And also too, their problems are a lot different than anyone from, that 10 million and down. And so we like to talk with them first, obviously consult with them and see what their issues are. Sometimes they just need like a full graphic design team. And so we've even provided that before just on a monthly basis, but we only and always will only work on a monthly basis because we don't just package things up and send it to them. We want to be partners with everyone we work with, and it only helps us both long term. And so that's huge. It also, for our current clients, it helps us so we're not distracted with all these little projects coming in. We're solely focused on current clients and any new clients that want to come in and be a part of these programs.
Yeah, I think that's a smart business move on your part. Yeah, because like too many times, both on both sides, the customer and the marketing company. It's kind of like the project approach is like there's a deliverable, you deliver the deliverable, but then it just sits there. And it's like marketing isn't really that way. You need leads every month,
Right.
So
and branding and online visibility and applicants. And I mean, there's so much that goes into it that and it's okay because there are other companies and people that will do the project stuff, and it's just not.
And sometimes you do need a project. I mean, maybe you're going over and redoing all your branding and your logos and your brochures all at once. Sure, you can do projects, but don't think that that's the silver bullet.
Exactly. So I think that's important to note as well.
Yeah. Well, to cap it all up, like just to kind of like if your head is spinning, which is easy to do in this type of conversation, but just kind of put a cap on it. It's like, okay, in the bootstrap phase, 0 to 400K, just make sure that you're actually active and have a good Google My Business and Facebook and LinkedIn and Instagram, and make sure you're getting as many of reviews as absolutely humanly possible. Bonus your employees, do something special for your customers, ask them at the peak excitement moment when they're signing the contract, hey, would you be willing to leave a review when this is all said and done? Whatever it takes to get them done. To me, I think when I think of the most important thing, it's those reviews at that stage, because that will that will be the differentiator without spending money on paid ads and websites and stuff. And then phase 1, the 400K to $1 million or 1.2 million, you're actually graduating to a professional website, getting someone to own your ongoing SEO, search engine optimization. You're probably getting even more consistent on your social media stuff. It's not just when you think about it at 8 o'clock on a Friday night, And then phase 2, it's growing. Now you've got that foundation of a solid website. Now you're adding in paid ads, quality graphic designs, your branding, and you kind of are getting that whole lead engine flowing. And then in phase 3, if you decide you do want to go there, you're just investing more in the overall strategy. The same nuts and bolts strategy is a bigger thing to play.
Yeah, I couldn't have said it better myself. And with like that phase 3, you already have the foundation built and like the nuts and bolts and the fundamentals already set because you kind of went through those phases. Because if you're in phase 3 and you don't have any of that, you kind of have to go back to the beginning and then start. So
exactly, nothing's more odd than getting on a really nicely, obviously expensive website And then you look them up on Google and they have one review. They haven't posted in 2.5 years. And it's like,
yeah. And honestly too is, don't overcomplicate it. I always tell people we build good marketing habits, and you just have to be dangerously consistent. Like just keep being consistent. That delayed gratification, of course, is big with entrepreneurs. It's like seeing the future of your company and it being a legacy instead of just like, how much money can we make in 4 months? So instead of nickels and dimes, we look at dollars and thousands and tens of thousands.
Yeah. You just made me think of like, this is true, I think, for everybody that ever does social media content, but you're like, oh, it's not perfect, or I don't have a photographer, I'm not good at taking pictures. Or it's like, that's the cool thing about the kind of the social media culture is it's especially on Instagram, I think it's like, it's not perfect. It's whatever's happening. Like Gary Vee says, document, don't produce, or something to that effect. Like just whip out your phone and take that photo and post it. Hey, we're working. We have this hardscape all ripped, or this concrete all ripped up, and we're prepping it for pavers or whatever it is,
Yeah. The funny part too is that these algorithms have actually now are favoring those type of posts where it's like, it's not doctored. It's not a graphic design flyer or something. It's like, they want it to be personable. They want social media to be social. And so they will actually kind of reward these ones where you're just nerding out about the septic system you put in, how many yards of dirt you pulled out, what the septic system does. And they will reward that over a well timed out and doctored graphic that you spent way too much time on.
Exactly. And I've seen this in video because I love making high-end cinematic style film and video. And I have some of some of the videos I'm most cinematically proud of had performed the worst. And some of the most like just random pull out my iPhone and shoot something have been my top 5 videos on a YouTube channel.
Yeah. It's a blessing and a curse. I mean, you got to take the easy route.
Yeah. Okay, well, hey, we're gonna wrap it up here. Thanks again. Where can people find you on your for those resources and just get in touch with you?
Absolutely. So you can find my personal profile or Phaser Marketing on all platforms. Of course, I wouldn't be talking about them if I wasn't on there. Definitely Instagram and LinkedIn. We're the most active. You can also check out our website, phasermarketing.com. And of course, the Dirt Bags podcast. We launch a new episode every 2 weeks on Fridays. Called Feel Good Friday. It's a good way to kick off your day and just sit in the skid or in the truck and listen to an episode while you're learning and growing your business in construction.
Sure. Fantastic, man. Well, I appreciate having you on here. I think we covered a lot of ground and have a few good gold nuggets in here for people that are just like, hey, what stage am I in and what should I be doing? So appreciate
absolutely. That. It was a blast and I appreciate you having me on.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks, Luke.